Well, I've got some positive news. So here I am. It's a beautiful Saturday morning, and I'm out here walking my dog. Why is that significant? Well, because I'm walking my dog and I'm doing it pain-free. I mean, I don't have any lower back pain, and that's awesome. And I've actually been like that for about 2.5 months. So I think that what I want to do is I want to share with you what I've been doing those 2.5 months to strengthen and stabilize my lower back. You know, I really do want to help somebody out because I've had a lot of people reach out to me over some of the videos that I've put out about, you know, dealing with degenerative disc disease and stuff like that. And I've got to say, man, this is what's been really motivating me to try to move forward and try to, you know, get back into shape and stuff like that, because I'll be honest with you, I've been so demotivated. I haven't had any ambition whatsoever to like work out or anything like that. So yeah, it's been pretty difficult, but you know what? You know, I've been doing actually really well lately. So, you know, I want to share with you what I've actually been doing. All right, so now I want to share with you what I did to start strengthening and stabilizing my core. When I first started, I was already in pain. My lower back was flared out. So I was trying to do the exercises and I was trying to push through them, but it just didn't work out. So what I decided to do is try to do as much as I can to try to take away as much of the inflammation and as much pain as possible, right? So that meant for me, I started, you know, popping in a bunch of ibuprofen. I also was using ice to try to alleviate the swelling and things like that. And then having all of that didn't take the pain away, but it got me to a point where I was at least able to do the exercises without pain. So that's where I started. So obviously we're going to be doing exercises on the floor, so you want to grab your mat and all that stuff. But the second important point that I wanted to make was this. What I did as well is that I tried to find a good resting position for my lower back. It's a position that basically alleviates your any pressure or any stress on your lower back, and it's just you know, a position that is like totally comfortable. And the reason why I did that is because in the middle of you doing all these exercises, right? I mean, depending on how bad you are, you're going to be experiencing some discomfort, some stress, and even maybe a little bit of pain in your lower back. And you want to kind of like take a break between sets and just kind of like take the pressure off completely off of your lower back, right? So for me, that position is on my side, right? So, you know, I'll be doing these exercises. I'll grab something like this foam roller here, and I'll lay on my side with my legs and my hips at a 90-degree angle. And I'll rest my head here so that my head could be, you know, aligned in a straight manner with the rest of my body. And, you know, I would probably lie here for, you know, a minute or two or whatever. And then I would probably go on the other side and lay like that as well. And, you know, you want to do that anytime you feel like you just need, you know, you're doing all this work. You just need to give your back a little bit of a break, or your back is screaming for a break, right? Now, everybody's different. That's a position that worked for me, but for some other people, laying down on their stomach on the floor usually works. I mean, I've heard some people say, oh no, this is the position that works for me, and that's fine if that works for you. This is actually somewhat uncomfortable for me, right? But, you know, some people are okay with that. Some people are better, and they feel that they alleviate a lot of pressure off their back by just laying on their backs. I would suggest keeping your legs bent like this, because if you keep them straight like this, it might cause a little bit of a overarch in your lower back, which is not good. But again, to each his own. You know, this is actually, I would prefer this over lying down on my stomach. Some people want to have a physio ball, right, which I have one here, and would prefer to take the ball and just put your feet over it like this and just relax. So these are the types of positions that you want when your back needs a break, and you'll know exactly when that is. You know, none of this is to overstress your back, and none of this is to be made, to be performed rushing. You know, you don't want to rush through any of this stuff, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to heal your back, right? So if your back starts acting up, just go ahead and find that position where you can give it a break, and then you can resume your exercises. All right, so now on to the fundamental exercises. I believe these exercises are fundamental to start strengthening and stabilizing your core. And obviously, the very first fundamental exercise is the McGill Big Three. Now, you've probably heard about the McGill Big Three before. It's been around for a long time. And there's lots of information out there about that. So I don't think I need to go through how to perform the McGill Big Three in this video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a bunch of links in the description box below so that you can check it out yourself, everything that you need to know about the McGill Big Three. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to share with you some points, some things that I've learned that have worked for me in performing this exercise. Now, it depends on the person, right, as to how frequent you are going to be performing these exercises, right? Some people say do it every day. In my particular case, every day didn't work, right? I did it every other day, and that's what worked for me, and I did it once a day. Sometimes I would do it in the morning, but then there were other mornings where my back was just totally just horrible, and I could not perform them in the morning. I actually ended up performing them later in the day. Regardless, the key thing here is consistency, and you want to try to be as consistent as you can to try to do it as frequently as you can. So one of the things that I would like to talk about in regards to the McGill Big Three is that the repetitions are more important than the duration. And this is what I mean by that, right? You have a bird dog hold, right? So obviously you want everything at a 90-degree angle here, hands firmly planted, right? So you want to lift like your let's say like your left leg and your right arm, right? And so this is the position here that you want to hold. What's more important is for you to hold it for a short amount of times, but do that for several sets. This is what I mean. It's more important for you to hold that position for, like, let's say 10 seconds and then release and then do it again and keep doing that, right? So let's say for 5 sets or more, depending on what you want, rather than holding it for a minute. The reason for that is because there is, and we'll get into this in another video, there's some oxygen deprivation in your lower back. So what happens is that while you're holding this position, you're depleting a little bit more oxygen in here. And what you want to do is you kind of just want to release it, breathe, and then hold it again for another 10 seconds, release it, take a deep breath, and then hold it again. And so that's what worked for me, right? Basically, you don't want to do this either, right? You don't want to go like this, right? And then when you come down, you touch your knee with your elbow, right? Because look at what happens to my back. It kind of arches. You don't want that, right? That's how I used to do it, right? So I used to go like this, hold it for 10 seconds, go, breathe, and then go like that. No, so the best way to do it is this. When you hold a bird dog, right, and you hold it for 10 seconds, when it's time to release, actually go back to all fours here. And then I would take a deep breath. And then hold it for another 10 seconds. So
that worked out well for me. The other thing that I also wanted to point out is this, right? They'll tell you, right, when you're doing the crunches, right, to put both hands underneath your lower back, right? And I'll do it this way. Put both hands underneath your lower back. The problem with this for me was the fact that, you know, when you lift up, it put way too much stress on my neck. I felt very uncomfortable here, and sometimes my attention would be drawn to my neck. So what I did is I actually took my hand and placed it in the back of my head to support my head, and I would take my left hand here, in this case, and I would just put it underneath my back. That way, when I did the crunch, okay, and all you don't need that much, you don't need to move that much, just enough for you to have that tension here. And then the other thing that was helping me is that I was actually trying to drive my hips downward. So I was kind of pushing up, right, with my glutes, right, or like my lower back, was trying to actually push it up. Obviously, this is an exaggeration, but I was actually kind of like trying to drive my hips down to the floor. And that made a big difference for me. So both supporting my head, and you hold it for 5-10 seconds, whatever is good for you, and then bring it back down again. And then I would take a deep breath. And then I would go again. And then I would hold it for another whatever seconds. And what I would do is this, right? So for each exercise, I would do 5 sets each side. So obviously with the bird dog, right? Hold it for 10 seconds. That's 1. Hold it for 10 seconds. 2, right? Until I did 5. Same thing with the left side. Same thing with the left plank. Now the other thing with the left plank, and I'm pretty sure you'll see this in the other videos, is don't stack one leg on top of the other, but keep them staggered like this. Actually, it would probably be more like this. And when you plank, the other thing to keep in mind is keep your head in line with the rest of your body, because if not, then, you know, if you do something like this or something like that, it could cause a lot of problems here. The other thing is with your shoulder, right? There's progressions for this, but if your arm is out too much like this, or too far inside, you can cause a lot of stress in your shoulder capsule here, and that can cause some problems. So again, this is what I did, you know, every other day to start strengthening and stabilizing my core. So after the McGill Big 3, I would finish off with kind of like a slight bridge. Now this is actually something that made a lot of difference for me. Sometimes I would do this instead of the McGill Big 3, depending on how I felt that day, right? Sometimes doing the McGill Big 3 is not gonna feel very good. It's not gonna feel right. You're gonna have to gauge your body with this. But for me, one of the things that I used to do is I used to do somewhat of a small glute bridge. And basically what that is I used to lay down on my back like this, and then what I imagined myself is like, imagine there's like this string going into your belly button down through the floor, and you're basically pulling that down, right? And that would brace your abs, right? And in the process, your glutes go up a little bit. They don't go up all the way. This is not a glute bridge, right? But it would just, you know, brace your abs, right? And then naturally your glutes would raise up a little bit, right? Now, you don't want to like really hard. This is not what that is. It's just enough to just kind of like, take a deep breath, and then I would kind of just hold it right there. And, you know, as much tension that you want to put on there is really up to you, to a level that's comfortable. Again, I would hold this for maybe 5 to 10 seconds, And then I would release, take a deep breath, and then again, just try to imagine that string pulling straight through the floor, and there's a hook right here in your belly button that just kind of like, and you just, and it braces your core. Now hold that for about 5-10 seconds and then release again. And this made all the difference in the world for me as well. And that's basically it. So I would say that I was doing the McGill Big Three, every other day, and it really did make a difference. Now here's the interesting part. There were a lot of times where I woke up with back pain, and what I would do is I would just kind of like spread out in the floor and just do the bracing, okay? Just do the ab bracing. Do that maybe about, I don't know, 5-10 times, and I would notice that I didn't experience as much discomfort and I didn't experience as much pain as I used to when I would just not even do the exercise. The other thing that I want to mention is that it's not very uncommon for me to do this during my warm-up routine when I start lifting, right? When I start exercising, when I start doing either cardio or weightlifting, part of my warm-up routine would be to do the McGill Big Three, do the core bracing. It starts to activate your core, you know, it starts to get that ready, because almost everything that you do is going to affect your core, and in our case, right, it's going to affect your lower back. So anyway, that's it. Now in the next video, I'm going to talk about how I started my workout routine. And again, I'm going to be covering a fundamental exercise that you should be able to do, and that is going to actually help you with your lower back. It definitely made a difference for me. It's nothing new. But anyway, I will see you at the next video. God bless you guys.